The following broadcast is brought to you by Public House Media.
You're listening to Catch Up, an official news production of Public House Media.
Today is June 29th, 2020, and it's time to catch up on the news that you need to know about.
Today, we're helping you catch up on
global cases of COVID-19 have surpassed 10 million.
One Speedway's response to the Bubba Wallace story loses some sponsors and partners, a peaceful protest that ended in a tragedy.
And, as always, we will end with a bit of good news for you.
We're your hosts, Kylie Thompson
and Anna Herman. Welcome to Catch Up.
Coronavirus cases across the globe have surpassed 10 million, a chilling reminder that the deadliest pandemic of the modern era is stronger than ever. It took 4 months after the virus first surfaced in the Chinese city of Wuhan to reach 1 million infections. The spread of the coronavirus has steadily accelerated in the time frame to 1 million additional cases every week now. The latest milestone may serve only as a relative marker, as the true number is likely to be higher given the difficulty of tracking infections.
People are still trying to get on with interrupted lives, but more lockdowns and social distance measurings may not be looming. Since late March, the United States has had the most cases globally and is still adding infections at a record daily pace, as states like Texas, Arizona, and Florida are overwhelmed, forced to reverse plans to open their economies. Here to talk more on this topic is official Catch-Up correspondent John Lauder. Thanks for joining us today, John.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
So John, we've seen other countries with a declining amount of cases. So what are some things that have been done to slow the spread?
Well, I mean, obviously, guys, all the things that we all should be doing here in America, social distancing, wearing masks. That's been the biggest thing in Asia, in Europe, to get those case numbers down, and just really being judicious about it. In Italy, in France, there were, police officers literally stopping people in the streets. If you didn't have a legitimate place to go, you were told to go home. If you weren't wearing a mask, you could be fined, things like that. Those are the biggest ways, I think, that these European and Asian countries have been able to finally get their rates of infection down, their rate of transmission down, and therefore be able to open up and sort of get back to some semblance of normalcy.
So in the U.S., we have seen New York, which was once the epicenter of COVID in the U.S., say that on Sunday they have less than 800 people in hospitals, which is virtually the lowest number since they've started. And now we're seeing spikes in places like Arizona, Florida, and Texas. So why do you think that we are seeing such a rise in those areas, and why we're seeing such a decline in places like New York?
So yeah, guys, I think the biggest difference between New Jersey, where I live, New York, much more stringent lockdowns, and also reopening a lot slower. A lot of these states, Florida especially, reopened far too early, and they're seeing their caseloads explode, which is having an effect on so many different things, from sports to obviously their businesses to everything else. New Jersey, a very slow reopening. Same with New York. They're still not even all the way reopened at this point. You've seen a lot more mask wearing, a lot more social distancing. But even in those states, you're seeing the social distancing go down. Even though obviously the numbers have gone down, which is a positive, they've actually ticked up a little bit in New Jersey. So, we are far from out of the woods with this all over America. But I think if some of these states where it's going up now, if they can be smarter about the social distancing, maybe back off some of the reopening and, continue with the mask wearing and all of those things, they can be where New York is right now. But it's very difficult. A lot of people don't seem to want to wear masks, and they seem to almost find it a personal affront to wear them. And it also seems like there's not enough social distancing in a lot of these places, even with the numbers going up, and also mixed messages from the White House and from top government officials, I don't think is helping matters at all.
Okay, so as someone that is outside of working for Catch-Up, also waitressing at a restaurant that's been open for about a month, I was just curious as to what your opinions are on things like restaurants being open. Do you think that they're essential? What are other states doing outside of Wisconsin to open up their restaurants and stuff for dine-in services?
Yeah, sure. I mean, at this juncture, I totally understand the thought process of reopening as much as humanly possible, because people need to make money and they need to survive. And that's what a lot of these governors are having trouble with, sort of finding that fine line between reopening, but also keeping the public as safe as possible. Again, I'm going to go with New Jersey as the example, because that's where I live. There's outdoor dining now up to, I think, about 50 people. In the area that I live, the outdoor restaurants are pretty packed. I personally am still too nervous to do that. I've been doing mostly takeout stuff, but I totally understand people wanting to go to restaurants. I think in the next week or so, they're going to be starting to do indoor dining in New Jersey up to 25% of capacity, and you have to wear masks at all times. You can't mingle with other tables. You can't get your own food and drinks. They have to be brought to you. So I do feel like a lot of these indoor dining guidelines and outdoor dining guidelines are smart, and they are trying to keep people as safe as possible because, again, guys, people need to work. So you need to be able to sort of find that happy medium between keeping people safe and also allowing people to make money. But it certainly is a concern for people not only in the industry, but people who do want to go out. They do want to spend money, which ultimately will help the economy as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, John.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate the time.
This is a developing story, so make sure to follow @TimeForKetchup on social media.
On Saturday night at 9 p.m. in Louisville, Kentucky, a gunman opened fire during a peaceful demonstration in honor and remembrance of Brianna Taylor. 2 were shot and 1 died on the scene after Jefferson County Sheriff's deputies performed life-saving measures on an unidentified male victim at Jefferson Square Park located in downtown Louisville.
The park has become a focal point for the city's protests, demanding justice for Brianna Taylor, an EMT who was shot by police in her apartment in March. Taylor was killed after officers forced their way inside of her home, according to Euro Weekly. She was shot at least 8 times when 3 officers entered her apartment to serve a search warrant in a narcotics investigation. Officers did not find drugs in her apartment when they entered, her family has said.
Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher released a statement Saturday night saying, "I am deeply saddened by the violence that erupted in Jefferson Square Park tonight, where those who have been voicing their concerns have been gathered. It is a tragedy that this area of peaceful protest is now a crime scene," end quote. Now, let's take it over to Kylie to discuss some of the latest in the Bubba Wallace story.
Thanks, Anna. Just days after a noose had been found in NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace's, NASCAR's only black driver's, garage stall before a race, the owner of the 311 Speedway based in North Carolina made a Facebook post that sparked intense backlash on social media. The owner of the Speedway posted an ad on Facebook Marketplace for a Bubba rope, stating, "Buy your Bubba rope today for only $9.99 each. They come with a lifetime warranty and work great."
According to Fox News, the post was condemned by a spokesman for Governor Roy Cooper. The Carolina Sprint Tour, a major sprint series in the South, posted on its Facebook page that it would not race at the Speedway for the remainder of the 2020 season, stating, quote, "We do not condone nor support the comments and posts that have been made in the past week," end quote. The Speedway also lost sponsorship from a concrete company due to their post.
The Carolina Sprint Tour has since posted that all events scheduled to happen at the 311 Speedway will now take place at Lawrence County Speedway. Now, as always, let's take it back to Anna for today's dose of good news.
Thanks, Kylie. And yes, as always, we have a bit of good news for you today. Bees have had a very good year with the second smallest winter hive loss in 14 years. Agricultural experts are continuing to look for alternative pollination techniques. Bee and other pollinators like butterflies are essential to farmers who grow flowering crops like fruit orchards and almonds, but with bee populations suffering over the last decade due to a variety of factors, one researcher in Japan may have found the perfect solution and idea to come to him while he was in the park blowing soap bubbles with his son.
Ihiro Maiko, an associate professor at the Japan Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, has successfully used soapy bubbles to pollinate a pear orchard by delivering pollen grains to targeted flowers in the most delicate way, utilizing a drone. The whimsical technique would be much cheaper and more effective than other types of manual pollination when used with robotic or drone delivery methods. The study presents a low-tech complement to robotic pollination technology designed to supplement the work of vanishing bees.
Although this approach to pollination appears promising, more techniques are still needed to improve its precision. Plus, with soap bubbles, weather is key. Raindrops can wash away pollen-bearing bubbles from flowers, while strong winds might blow them astray.
Thanks for catching up on today's news with us. I'm Kylie Thompson.
And I'm Anna Herman. Please be sure to catch up with us again tomorrow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
We appreciate you listening to Catch Up. For even more content, follow Catch Up Digital on social media. Just search for @TimeForKetchup.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the stories we covered today. Just use the hashtag #PassTheKetchup on social media.
Catch Up is an official production of Public House Media.